Hello.
How's it going?
Hey, Bosco.
All good. All good. I was just checking whether there is a sound. Let's see whether we will have our chair with us. He might be off if the electrician didn't finish his job. But I was exchanging some messages with Kevin.
Was there a hard fork working group meeting yesterday?
Yeah, there was.
I'm trying to figure out why it's not showing up in my calendar. It shows up every other day except for that day. Maybe I accidentally clicked decline on it. And it disappeared.
There is a good explanation for that. So, and it falls on my back. Maybe that's why I strained my back today, because it's probably not probably, but very likely that I didn't send the manual invitation at all. So what I relied on as a one pillar of the attendance is the subscription to the Luma calendar, because people would know about it if they register there. But if they don't register, it doesn't appear in their calendar. And I do have a reminder in my calendar every week to send the invitations for the following week. And somehow I missed to do that last week. And that's the simple explanation. But the call was actually good. Anyway,
no worries. I don't think I would have been able to make it anyway, so I guess it worked out.
Okay, all good.
My schedule this week is crazy.
Yeah. Just give me a sec. So Landros is here. There is additional strange thing happening in the calendar, and I don't know how. Kevin will join. Yes, I see now that the working session overlaps with this one, and I didn't change the things. Maybe it was because of the daylight saving time, whatever it is. But that one needs to be adjusted as well. Yeah. In
Bosco, I would leave it. I would leave it, right? Because basically it'll come back to normal in 2 weeks' time. It depends. It depends which time zone you actually put the meeting in.
Yeah.
Which time zone it follows.
Probably for the working session that comes after this, that is probably in the US time zone calendar or something, which is now showing as overlapping with this one. I don't know. So I will correct that, but that's an agenda item. Hello, Chair Kevin. You can take over.
Thanks, Oscar. Apologies, I had the wrong link showing in my calendar. So I've just pasted the agenda into the chat. I'll quickly copy over the action items from the last meeting.
Okay, yeah.
And as usual, if anyone has any items they would like to raise, now is a good time to do that. Welcome, Ken. Welcome.
Committee elections. Also, I've added it to click up to the list of the agenda item, but something that you can touch at the end of the meeting.
Okay, yeah. We have some time for that, right, Bosco? It's not immediately urgent.
It's really about the commitment to the visibility to X Spaces and Virtual Hub, and there is something we need to schedule by next week. Not to happen by next week, but just to schedule it. So that's the thing why I want to put it on the radar.
Okay, so I'll just paste the action items
from the last meeting. Yeah, deadlines.
Bosco, if you go into March 11, there's a whole new format where you can just flip through.
March 11?
Yeah, so if you just click on that, well, I don't know, yours isn't updated. It's in the desktop app. Never mind.
Okay. So what do you want me to do?
Don't worry about it. We'll talk later.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to propose that we start the meeting, Bosco.
Yeah, okay.
So everyone to the Technical Steering Committee meeting of the 11th March 2026. By my count, we have 6 voting members of the TSC present, so we are quorate. But Ryan will have to drop off after 30 minutes. So Ryan, if there are items that you feel are especially significant, please let me know now and we can prioritize them. Likewise, if there are any items that might need votes, then we should probably prioritize them whilst you're here. I'm not aware of any. Ryan, anything you want to raise?
I don't think there's anything specific, no.
Okay, great. So let's kick off with actions from last meeting. So Bosco. And I
was on mute. Yeah. So you pasted it in the chat. So first item is Ryan Wiley, of course, collects feedback on the DIREP compensation paper from the committee in the background for a more detailed discussion next week, which means this week, but I don't know whether that's the right thing. Actually.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten any specific feedback on it. Maybe a little bit of engagement on X. I know Utah built a website that kind of integrates it, the idea from the paper. It's not exactly one-to-one, but it does kind of model out what it would look like. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of feedback to go off that paper. So.
Okay.
Okay, so what I propose is we keep the item open, Ryan, and give the committee a chance to provide feedback. And we come back to it next week.
Kevin and Neil sync up to finalize the formal technical concern statement for the Civics Committee regarding Constitution 2.4.
I've not been able to sync up with Neil yet. I have asked him about this. Maybe we can do it at some point after this meeting.
Okay.
That's probable, yeah.
Okay. For me, to update the mirror board for the TSC budget based on Ken's feedback on Slack and work packages and everything, but there are also there's also another set of updates when it comes to that, which we can cover on the call anyway. Then it is the next one was a new Kevin to ask Mike Hornan to attend the next parameter committee to discuss the rationale for 5 ADA direct deposit proposal. But I don't know whether that was meant for last week or this week.
That was meant for last week. So the action took place out. We invited Mike. There was a good discussion. We'll cover that at the appropriate point in this call.
Okay. And it was said to be on Sebastian, but with my help, essentially to coordinate a dual poll to schedule a dedicated technical session for TSC to dive deeper into linear layers risk management. However, I'm not sure whether that is I'm not sure whether that is a priority right now. Is it? So is there any real interest in that, or we are trying to force the interest in that? I mean, you guys. I'm the secretary.
There was interest, Bosco, expressed in the meeting that
okay.
The reason for asking Sebastian to drive it was because we would then synchronize with Sebastian's schedule, which I assume is fairly busy. But if he seems to be stepping back from the organization, so what we could do is simply to put forward a few times based on our own schedules, and then to arrange that with Sebastian as appropriate.
When you say he's stepping down from organization, you mean organization of the meeting or organization?
What he said is, what he said in the Slack was he didn't, something on the lines of he didn't really want to organize a meeting, but he would participate in one if it was organized.
Okay. So I can take over and we can schedule. Yeah. Okay. That
if nobody is interested, Bosco, then we close off the action.
Yep. Okay. So we'll figure that one out. So that concludes the list of the action items from the last meeting. So we can go with the next things on the agenda.
Yes. So the next item on the agenda is the budget process, the 2026 budget process. There's been some movement on that from last week. So the budget committee has published a info action outlining a proposed process. I've pasted that into the chat there. This is the process is essentially to govern all types of action that are, all types of budget requests that are submitted via the Intersect process. The info action is open until the end of the month, the 4th of April, to be precise. And what we would expect is that following that point, Intersect would then open up a proposal gathering phase with the expectation that this would last about 6 weeks, and then there's a selection process. The participating GREPs will drive the selection process for the proposals that will be put forward in presumably some kind of omnibus Intersect governance action or two. So I'd encourage you to look at the info action if you're interested in the process. We will have to align with it to some extent in terms of our own proposal. So there are two things going on. One is this general process for soliciting community proposals, but the other is the Intersect internal process, which I assume is aligning with that in the absence of any other information. So that's the information that I have on the Budget Committee. Happy to answer any questions based on my reading of the info action. There is an FAQ that is referred to as well, so that may answer some of the questions. So what they're expecting is that proposals should align with the 2030 vision. So they should indicate the alignment with the 2030 vision. There is some discussion of KPIs, by which they don't really mean KPIs at all. They mean objectives, concrete objectives, as we're discussing them with the product committee. Now, there's a slight mismatch between what we're discussing with the product committee, which are the objectives we would set for 2030, and what can reasonably be achieved in 2026. So what I would expect is that projects that are proposed will show how they could help to achieve progress towards the 2030 KPIs as far as possible. Alternatively, and this seems to be a bit vague, a project might define its own KPIs. The Technical Steering Committee will be invited to comment to provide technical reviews for relevant proposals. So the expectation is that there will be a period of about 6 weeks during which proposals will be open for review, and we will be invited to provide reviews as we wish. We'll need to monitor that carefully to avoid overload of this group, of course. But we do have, this is a request to us, and we do have a duty to the community to provide them with technical advice within our capabilities. What I wouldn't expect is for the Technical Steering Committee to attempt to review all the proposals that were submitted to Intersect. That would be far too much of a load. And I also might not expect an in-depth technical review given the timescales. Realistically, coming up with a review, a proper technical review of a complex project takes days or weeks, including alignment of the committee members. So we'll need to probably have some short-circuited process for that. Okay. So that is the process. That is the outline timelines. So based on what we're then seeing, approximately 6 weeks for the review process, discussion process to take place and the voting process to take place, then some time to collate the responses into some info action. I imagine INSTAC will want to do that fairly quickly. So that will be about 2 months after the after the info action has expired. And that will take us into roughly a May timescale for an info action to be put on chain. So what we would then expect is for that to be ratified by about June and for projects to start after that. Okay, so that's a bit of timing information. Sebastian.
Kevin, you mentioned that we are invited to do reviews. Do you know in which stage or phase this would be? I just skimmed the action. Yeah.
Yes, I need. So the review process goes through about 4 or 5 stages, Sebastian. So it's not. So it's not been concrete. So I've not been given concrete information as to which stage. So the idea is that proposers initially submit via Ecclesia. So this is being done off chain. So as it was done last year. So there's an Ecclesia phase. Initially, the proposals are going to be private. So the proposers will have some time to prepare their proposal privately. So clearly, we wouldn't be involved at that stage. What we might expect is either to give early feedback to the GRAPs to help shape the proposal, or alternatively to give feedback on a more or less final proposal. Those would seem to be the 2 sensible points. But if we're going to give feedback, it needs to be done early enough to provide guidance to the GRAPs as they're taking the decisions, the funding decisions. Well, sorry, they're not funding decisions, but they're taking prioritization decisions. So so we can take an action to discuss that with the relevant parties, Bosco. I think it's a reasonable question to ask.
Okay. Still, we would need anyway for you and me to sit down and try to fill in the template the way it should be, right?
That's another issue. What Sebastian's talking about is the community proposal review process.
Okay. We have a way to ask, but we need to be clear about what we are asking.
I think we need to be clear about what the timelines are and when it is valuable for the TSC to contribute reviews to the process. And in particular, what we don't want to be doing is to commit to open-ended reviews. It's just going to be far too time-consuming.
Agree. That can be specified. Are you frozen, Kevin? You are.
Seems like maybe at a power outage now.
We lost him.
Yeah.
Looks impressed.
Yeah, he's like really like a statue.
Okay.
What did you guys tell him?
My machine just told me I switched over to UPS.
You know, whenever there is a discussion about the money, then people froze. All good with the electricity, Kevin?
Welcome back, Kevin.
Yeah, so the electrician said he just cut through a power cable. So. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. So hopefully that won't happen again. So then looking at the Technical Steering Committee budget proposal, the process has shifted from putting things into the Miro board into putting things into a template, into a budget template. I provided you with a copy of the template
in Slack channel, right?
In the Slack channel. It's quite a detailed template, and to be frank, it doesn't really look like one that is geared to committee proposals. It looks more like one that's geared to community proposals, but we will attempt to fit what we want within it. In particular, we'll have to demonstrate alignment to the pillars that the product committee has identified. Am I still there, or have I been cut off?
You are here.
You're still here.
I'm not seeing anyone at all. Everyone is blank. Then one of the
I try to understand the rationale. Yeah, Kevin, I try to understand the rationale of aligning the TSC work with the product committee pillars. It sounds very weird to me. It's just that, okay, I mean, in my view, the TSC is a technical support function to the community. So aligning it with product pillars sounds, okay, I wouldn't say stupid, but yes, I will say stupid.
My reaction, I was being a bit more polite, Nicholas. Right.
Yeah, but you know I'm French, so pardon on French. That's okay.
Yeah, I share your sentiment, Nicholas. What we're being asked to do is very strange, Bosco. And I suspect that the budget committee has simply come up with a template and is now trying to fit the committees into the standard template they've defined, rather than considering that the committee function might not be the same as a development project, for example.
Tex might want to add something with a hand raised.
I was just going to say, to be fair, I believe it's due to the maturity of committees as a whole. I would say as this year evolves, there's more to be done with the product committee and each individual committee beyond that to find our way in adjusting the vision and strategy as appropriate to include what is expected of intersect committees in that regard. So the vision, the strategy, that was all kind of done more so with the community side of things, which yes, we should as committees attempt to align with, but the work focus, which is the lower rungs, may not always apply. And so it's going to come down to communicating that with the product committee, and also having the product committee reaching out to better understand how to fit what committee work is within that, within those pillars. So I think it's on both sides. There's no argument one way or the other per se. It's just a maturity gap for committees altogether.
I think it's slightly different text. So the purpose originally specified for the 2030 vision was that this is a vision for Cardano. What we're now talking about is the strategy for Intersect, and these are not necessarily the same thing. So obviously you'd expect the Intersect outcomes to be supporting the development of Cardano, but you don't necessarily expect all of the functions to be present in the 2030 vision. It's the difference between what is Intersect and what is Cardano. So as Nicholas is saying, what's being asked won't necessarily fit exactly, but we will do our best to make it fit. One of the other things we'll have to do is to work out what is funded by Intersect centrally and what is not. So there's some discussion over some of the items, and so we had an indication that Intersect, for example, would support travel to TSC meetings, perhaps, but we need to get that confirmed. If Intersect is taking on that responsibility, we don't need to include that in the budget, but that needs to be absolutely clarified. So is Intersect taking on the burden of the general operational cost of all committees? What is it willing to fund? And therefore what should be excluded from the specific budget that we're requesting. And at this point, it's not clear to me what that is. But I will keep you advised as it becomes clearer. There will be the opportunity to discuss, I assume there will be the opportunity to discuss the budget items with the community. We didn't really get the opportunity last year to do that properly. So we can have a discussion with the community and we can adjust the budget. Again, I'm not sure whether we need to adjust it then in conjunction with Intersect centrally, or simply taking on board feedback. We can sort that out as we get to the time. So that's what I know so far.
So you know a lot.
I know something, and I'm guessing some things.
Which seems like a perfect cooking recipe. We never figure it out.
Then, time-wise, we need to have our budget proposal together by March the 20th. So that's about just over 1 week. Okay. So luckily, we've been discussing this for some time. I'm going to propose that I meet up with Bosco to discuss some of the questions that he's been raising in the background. I have already started to complete the budget template for us, but there's more that will need to be done there, and the timeline is now quite tight to do that. So happy to engage with other people who want to be involved in the process, but we'll need to do things in the background and then probably come back next week with a mapping of the proposal we've got into the budget template, I think, and then look for ratification next week.
I agree. From my point of view, Kevin, just let me know on Slack offline what is the appropriate time for you tomorrow, and I will adjust.
Great. I'm happy to take any input into that, of course. So we will do everything via I've shared the link to the budget proposal with the committee. You should all have access to that, and you should all be able to comment on that or edit that as appropriate. Great. So if we close discussion on that, moving on to the next item, parameter update status. So Alex, I think you're here and you can give us an update.
I know. Somebody want to say something? No.
Yes, we're waiting for you.
No, I was. Somebody was cut off just before you stopped talking.
That's my smart speaker.
Oh, Kevin, can you unplug the thing during meetings? It's terrible.
I keep forgetting.
Of course. Perimeter update. I'm terribly prepared for my part here. Oh, fuck me. No, actually, I am terribly prepared. We just had our perimeter committee meeting last Thursday, so it's not that long ago. Okay, so please take. You pulled me out of something else and can't perform on the spot.
Do you want me to give you a quick summary, Alex?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. So, so the main item of discussion was the Plutus cost model upgrades that we are proposing for the Van Rossum hard fork. We had a good presentation by the Plutus team on that. There were slight changes from the previous proposal because of an issue that they found with a couple of the parameters. The cost models were incorrect, the ones we'd previously been supplied. the committee has agreed to accept those cost models subject to final benchmarking by the performance and tracing team to confirm that all of the benchmarks satisfy the PREOS requirements, the PREOS timing requirements. So we are now proceeding to define metadata for the upgrade. We've got draft metadata that was prepared last week. This has been shared with you in the background. So please feel free to look at that and to make suggestions for improvements. What we would expect is to first enact this on preview. The change has already been enacted on SanchoNet, so there's testing going on. What we would do is go through the usual process of first doing the parameter upgrade on preview, confirming that everything goes through smoothly, and then going for a subsequent upgrade on pre-prod and mainnet. And we don't have to tie this formally to the hard fork. Getting it out sooner, if we can, is probably a good move, because then all the primitives will be enabled at the time of the hard fork. So that was the main item of discussion. Then we had a great discussion with Mike Hornan, who is present, about reducing the DREP deposit to 5 ADA. Mike, since you're here as an observer, perhaps you'd like to tell us a bit about that.
Yes, I'm intending for accessibility. Sorry, I was doing something else. Okay, hi. Yeah, so I'm intending to lower the DREP deposit, which is 500 ADA, down to 5 ADA. And my rationale, which is not yet finished, will also provide some benchmarking that we did that proves that there's no danger at the ledger level doing that. So it's more related to the inclusivity and to allow anyone to be either a direct voter or their own DREP. That's pretty much it. That summarizes it.
Anything you'd like to add to that, Alex or Neil? Okay, great, thank you. So it looks like a promising proposal, Mike. It's great to increase the inclusivity this way. There obviously are limits to how low the deposit could go, simply based on security considerations. What we obviously need to avoid is overloading the chain, and we need to take into account the costs of operating the chain, but 5 ADA would seem to be well within that. What we don't know is how, to what extent this would increase the number of DREPs. Hopefully it would have a very positive effect. There is a question over DREPs who've already paid the higher deposit. There's no mechanism at the moment to refund that deposit without them deregistering, which would cause them to lose their vote. So until a change was made to the ledger, we would be able to reduce the deposit for new DREPs, but existing DREPs wouldn't be able to reclaim the 495 ADA that they had previously paid. So there's no mechanism to do that. So it's a slight wrinkle there. But as Mike is saying, the performance data is all looking good. The stress tests that the performance team has run on the performance and tracing cluster suggest that we could support 5,000 DREPs or possibly even more within the capabilities of the existing implementation. And then obviously one of the concerns would be how much of the chain capacity was being put into the voting function, the governance function, versus other other functions, but that can be calculated. Great. So the other things which the parameter committee has in the works have not yet been discussed, I think, Alex. So you were talking about possibly a TX, a transaction fee reduction. That's quite interesting. Reducing the min pool cost and increasing the target number of pools. So these are things that the parameter committee might be looking at in the future. So quite a lot on the horizon, as well as the second stage to the Plutus memory units limit increase, and perhaps a reduction in the committee min size. We'll come back to that in a second. Great. So moving on to the next item, hard fork status. Bosco, do you want to give us a summary? The meeting yesterday was quite lightly attended.
Yeah. We had a discussion even today. So I missed to send the manual invitations for a whole lot of people. So when it comes to the hard fork status and the node readiness, based on what we know today, it's likely that there's not going to be a pre-release this week for 10.7.0. Rather sometime next week, if everything goes well with the release of packages and integration. And from what I can observe on the node readiness channel, there are some small bumps that the team is trying to figure out. So that will probably, I don't know what was later discussed on the call, on the release call with them, Kevin. I'm not sure, but on the versioning and everything. But from what I understood yesterday on the hard fork working group call is that the 10.7.0 pre-release can be used to hard fork on for a hard fork enactment on preview, right? That's the idea, or something has changed.
The conclusion was that we would need a node version 11 to do the hard fork on preview, Bosco.
Mm-hmm.
The reason is that experimental hard forks are not enabled on preview. Okay, so we need a more or less final version to do a preview upgrade.
Okay. What do you know? I'm trying to hijack this meeting to get the information. So if a pre-release happens next week, then when does the release itself usually happens after that? How long after?
So pre-release to release is usually 1 to 2 weeks. Also, there's quite a lot of, but we don't need a release version for the preview upgrade necessarily. What we need is a version which is hard fork enabled. So what we're expecting is 10.7.0 and then probably a couple of weeks of testing by SPOs, etc. This is a major upgrade. There are quite a lot of changes between 10.7 and 10.
So SPOs can start testing before once the 10.7.0 is pre-released.
Correct. Not only can, but should.
Okay.
We should start testing.
Okay, so we should probably adjust the tentative timeline once Ryan comes back. I want to be sure that, like, just hearing that the mainnet ready things might be available like in 2-3 weeks, whatever it is right now. That means that probably we would go with the intra-era hard fork sometime, maybe even beginning of June. Like, I don't know, it feels like. I don't know whether we would hit end of May. If we save some time with that testing of the pre-release version on preview, then I don't know whether we would still need to go with the mainnet ready version with the protocol version 11 on preview, then pre-pro, then.
Let me work through the sequence for you, Bosco. So what we're then expecting is there will need to be a 10.7.1 because we know there's some issues be fixed from 10.7.0.
Sure. Sure.
And that will need to go through the same cycle, but it will be much faster than 10.7.0 because these will basically just be patches to 10.7.0. Now, assuming all goes well, there are no performance issues, there are no major regressions, that's likely to become node version 11. And 10.7.1 will need to go through the same cycle as 10.7.0. It might even overlap slightly with 10.7.0. We need to see. Okay. Once we've confirmed there are no regressions, we can then get to a node version 11. That will initially be released in pre-release form, and that can be used to hard fork, preview, and pre-prod. So it may not be mainnet ready at that stage, but it can still be used. It will be capable of hard forking.
Okay, so protocol version 11. But anyway, this really feels like it is what it is, but it feels like it's going into June.
We need to do the evaluation.
Yeah. I'm just like, based on what I know, based on the if the node version was available within a week from now, we could have hit late May. But if it's not going to be, then it's.
Yeah, what I suggest, Bosco, is we come back to predicting the timeline next week, and we can look at Ryan's revised timeline next week. At the moment, I think we're essentially just guessing on timelines.
What I said was based on the sequence of things. So what I do know is that based on the past information, without this new information, it was late May. With the new information, it's just pure logic. I'm not saying explicitly it's like that, but it's pure logic applied. Okay, we need to clarify then, but there is a real risk that it would go into June.
There's certainly a possibility that it goes into June, Bosco.
Yep.
But let's work through the sequence with Ryan.
Yep.
And we can present that next week, and we'll have more information.
Yeah, sure.
We'll have the information from the release meeting next week as well. The other quick update is dbSync. So dbSync obviously is slightly trailing the node, but we would expect it to be ready within about 2 weeks after the node is ready. So there's a bit of integration work, but it should be closely tracking the node version. And obviously any tooling that's using dbSync will need to update to use that version. There will be a version of dbSync that uses the LSM backend, but that won't be the priority. The priority will be first to get a version that is hard fork capable, that is capable of dealing with node 10.7, node 11. Okay, so that's a summary of where we are based on the information we have. Things still progressing, no major hiccups observed at this point in time.
But it still takes time, basically.
But it still takes time. Okay. So should we hand over to Leandros, 2030 Vision KPIs? So we met last week, Leandros, with the product committee again to discuss the KPIs.
Yeah, the product committee is very receptive to our recommendations. Everything seems to be aligning. One point that everyone is agreeing to is that TLV is not the greatest metric. But if we are going to count it, then it would be good to target a good value on TLV, that we should refine our tools for calculating TLV on Cardano to include things like certificates, pool deposits, minimum UTXOs, pledge of the stake pools, and other things that are unique to our technology and still count as locked value. Other than that, I still haven't been able to talk with the researchers of IOG for chain quality metrics other than chain density, though the product committee does agree that chain density will also be relevant after LEOS. We just need to take account the ranking blocks That's it. Anyone has any recommendations, suggestions? I'm always open to listen to other members of the committee.
So I'd say the discussion's going well, Leandros. Still some open questions from the product committee about what good metrics are, but we seem to be doubling down on defining concrete metrics. And the goal is to cement Cardano within the top tier of blockchains. There's some discussion about what that means from the product committee. So some product committee members think that the unique offering, the USP for Cardano, is through its security, for example, and that is more important than throughput or some of these other metrics. But that discussion is going to be one that the product committee needs to take up internally. And at least they are starting to have these discussions.
May I ask one thing? Is there any kind of expected outcome of that discussion? What's the end game? How long this will, for example, stay on the agenda? What needs to happen so it's considered done?
I would say that we need to reach a fixed point, Bosco. And so we need to reach the point where we are not making any more changes or proposing any more changes, where the product committee has accepted the definitions and that they have defined their overall objectives. So we need to make sure that they reach a point where they have given us enough information that we can determine that their objectives can be met through.
Is there a deadline aspect also of that?
There's no specific deadline that I'm aware of, Bosco. But as I think I pointed out, there's some expectation that that project proposals align with the KPIs. Okay, so there's an implicit deadline with that respect.
That's what I'm pointing at, essentially. Okay, so there is something implicitly put there because
there's an implicit deadline.
Okay,
I'm fully expecting this discussion to conclude in a fairly short time period. Maybe one more meeting is needed, I think.
Okay.
Great. Got a couple more points on the agenda. So the Discord on Discord, Sebastian.
Or text and or text.
Today I learned what Discord means in English as a non-native speaker. Yeah, so I was raising this as I was just witnessing some struggles or challenges of people joining or being in touch with technical working groups, coming from, like, there's a meaning. It means, like, I think having a fight or kind of not getting on the same page, right? Something like that is the meaning of Discord. Kevin is a native speaker, but yeah, it comes down.
So disagreement.
Yeah.
Noisy disagreement.
Yeah, exactly. So that's Discord. Now, so we use Discord as our servers for, like, technical working groups, for chats, and maybe even live channels there. We have working groups for Ledger, Consensus, Layer 2, and so on. In order to get onto the Discord server of Intersect, you must be a member, though. And so it is usually a bit kind of just an additional hoop to jump through to get in touch with something we hope to have be a very open community, right? So we would like to have more of conversations there rather in bespoke Slack channels or other maybe private forums. And yeah, I was wondering what's the concrete rationale for it? Because I believe the technical working groups could be better, or these channels could be better without that gatekeeping. And now this is up for discussion in this group, as we are kind of overseeing these working groups.
So if I may, I'll provide some additional insight that I have. I just had a workshop last week with some of the IO partners, and we're looking to step up what we're doing in terms of technical working groups, and that will also potentially evolve into taking on the hosting of other groups. Now, I understand that that might make this more serious or a higher priority issue. Nothing is officially defined as of yet, but again, plans are slowly in the works. The point of the registration is to have Intersect be that place to be. There's obviously the membership and community committee, and that is designed to be looking inward at what Intersect is offering in terms of membership benefits, ease of access. I can tell you, as far as any frustration in that process, that we as staff are very well aware of this, and we do everything that we can do to try to make that process easier, more clearly defined, or even taking the time to walk people through it. I don't have the top level answer as to why it is, but
I mean, to be blunt, we have also for example, the hard fork working group channel there, right? The whole nature of it to drive a conversation as wide as possible for getting the community behind a certain scope or certain upgrade, which should be happening on Cardano. We don't have a mandate to basically steer that conversation, right? We're just offering a stage, I guess, and the hard fork working group as one of these technical working groups is more just a host. So we have a vested interest in having as much of a participation there and as ease of participating. And to be blunt, paywalling that working group channel is probably not the best idea to get the maximum reach.
So nothing's paywalled because there is the associate tier, which is free. However, with specific regard to the hard fork working group, I would agree. I do not believe Discord is the best place for that primary communication channel. I think there should be another tool or even a user-friendly guide of how to use GitHub if we had to revert to discussions on that to be a little more open. For the technical working group, since Intersect is essentially going to look at investing some of Intersect's core budget into the management of technical working groups and facilitation for the community, that would still make sense to be at the very least under the associate tier. Again, it's an extra step, but if you wish to pay nothing, you don't have to pay anything.
Okay.
The actual membership tier, which is that $10 or 10 ADA or whatever, what you get to at that point is you get a committed contributor from step one. And so that there's a very value added piece to not have the Intersect Discord just wide open. And that's the reason why that would still be upheld, is knowing that when you're speaking with somebody in Discord, you're speaking with somebody who is at X level committed to the ecosystem and actually driving things forward.
I'm just thinking the way this discussion goes on for a few weeks now, anyway, it's a matter of, we will probably figure out something for the next DAX-Rara hard fork, but I think what we can do next week, or today, this week, what we can do, because I do have a struggle. So when I'm sharing a notes and everything, I do feel like I'm putting it in the trash, because it's like whoever sees that, so am I doing the right thing anyway? It's easy for me to share and do that stuff like a routine thing, but if it's not getting through to the right people, then I'm wasting my time. So what other channels? I mean, we are introducing DXSpace, that's fine, that's Google, but last week, nobody but 4 people from Intersect were there, probably because Cardano over coffee overlap or something like that. It doesn't matter at this point. But I don't know. Whatever any of you has an idea that we can use to bridge the gap between now and when we are done with all these changes that Tex is thinking about, I'm all open for it. If it's like a public way of doing these things because we are providing guidance, facilitation, it doesn't need to be carved in stone. So whatever you think would be useful, you don't need to go strictly by some imaginary rules that are not in place. Go on, Kevin.
Yeah, so I don't think we should spend too much longer on this.
Okay.
Oscar. But one of the things that we are proposing to do in the budget is to increase technical communications. I think making sure that we are communicating technical information, technical matters properly to the community is absolutely one of the requirements for this group. It's one of the things that we are standing for. So we do need to find ways to reach the members of the community who we need to, whether or not they are Intersect members. Otherwise, we're fulfilling our remit.
Yeah. It's good to know that, I mean, Intersect is a members-based organization. So we want to have people kind of engaged as a member. So ideally, we want to have people who are engaged because they just maybe happen to be wanting to follow up with the hard fork. They want to kind of have technical discourse. No discord with other people of a similar mind or like other builders. And if they happen to have that exchange through one of the working groups we facilitate, could we just not go the other way around and say, I mean, could we not aim for everyone can join that channel and then we convert them to be members? And if not, then we just create friction if they're willing to not be members, because seemingly there is nothing speaking against it. I just don't want to have it as a first interaction hoop to jump through, but rather have them, easily just come in and we just have something to kind of convert them to kind of proper members to do retention after the fact.
I definitely understand the ask, but that's a lot more difficult on the community management side, which there's not currently a stature or positions within Intersect to manage that. And it's also an unfair ask as a responsibility to other participants in those spaces. So, by putting it up front, knowing that there's no cost associated to it, that's a very small ask for contributors versus asking every other contributor to become a salesperson and advocate for Intersect. There are many who contribute, who have gone through the process and procedure, and who, for their own reasons, may or may not be advocates for Intersect. And that's perfectly okay, but they're still participating as part of the community. So what I'm saying is it'd be unfair to put that responsibility and say, no, you have to market becoming a member of Intersect if someone's going to get to XYZ level of discussion. Who's managing what, at what point they need to become a member, right? Or an associate or whatever. So I hear you. I don't. Rough,
I'm just saying any friction we have will drive discussion somewhere else and will fragment further the attention of the community. And we struggle with that, with just getting everybody's attention to matters. We have protocol parameter updates. I mean, maybe then that means there is no point in using the forums, we just use something else. The forum or like Twitter, or, I mean, it's just, we're kind of making the Discord channels less useful as they could be. That's just my worry.
I would say that this discussion, this general topic, has been around before, and there's a question of what is it that is demotivating these contributors that we need in the discussion, right? Because we're saying, hey, we need these people, but they don't want to do it because XYZ, right? Because they have to register with Intersect. Why is it that they don't want to register with Intersect? Why do they not want to do what, in theory, everybody else has done? That's a different social or individual question. It has nothing to do with the fact that Intersect has created a platform for people to discuss, and the only thing you have to do is one time do you have to register as an associate and click the link and add and invite yourself to the server. It's a less than 5 minutes to get fully set up, and then you can see every different working group that there is.
Yeah, so I'm going to propose drawing this to a close, given the time. I think the fact that there is a free associate member status will probably help some people. What we should probably do is to promote that. So what we should be doing is to promote the Discord channel. We should promote the associate member status for Intersect. And then we should see whether there are other ways that we can use to get the information, particularly about the Hard Fork Working Group activities, out, because that's a public duty that we're fulfilling.
Thanks for the discussion anyways. Maybe Tex, if you can support me and just giving me a one sentence thing I can give to people on how to get into that server, ideally, because I would like to pass it on most easily. As you say, it's easy. If you just need to do this and that, then maybe we have a thing we can just replicate.
I will look for some old resources, and there may be potential to create a new one. There's already a guide that I did previously, so I will forward that to the TSC channel.
Okay.
So, shall we finish off committee elections? Bosco is an item you added to the agenda at the start of the call.
Yeah, Tex, maybe you have a better articulation of the committee elections ask, as I would need to scramble my part out of the notes. So do you know already, because there is a need to schedule at least one XSpace and one virtual hub event, right?
Yes. So what would be best is to pick probably a primary and a secondary for each event. That way you have some flexibility with Laura, myself, and the rest of the elections team. But yeah, there should be one XSpace during I believe this is during the application period, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah. So 30th of March, between the 30th of March and the 17th of April, there is an ask for the TSC to host, or rather lead, not host, Intersect will host it, but lead an XSpace, specifically talking about the TSC and highlighting from potentially one or two members, hey, why did you run for TSC? What surprised you, or what have you learned while serving on TSC? 1, 2, or all of those. And a similar session would be run in Intersect's virtual hub, which was first debuted back at the AMM last year. So the ask is for one session in each domain, somewhere between the 30th of March and the 17th of April.
But we need to set up those dates by sometime next week.
By March 19th has been the request, yes.
Okay. So we need to figure out, and who needs to be on those calls?
And again, I would pick 2 times for each one. That way you have an alternate if the first time is taken, or somebody else has a higher priority.
Okay, so 19th is the next Thursday. So may I suggest and that's a suggestion for Kevin. So may I suggest we kind of agree on this on the next meeting, on the next TSC meeting?
Yeah, I think if you can determine which slots could be available for us, Bosco, then we can promote those to this group. People can sign up for the slots.
Okay.
So the first thing is to determine what times would be available. Then we can work out from people's schedules.
Okay. Okay. Tex, let's you and me figure that one out. Okay.
Should be easy.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Are there any other items of business that anyone would like to raise?
Meeting cadence, we keep it as is, maybe.
Meeting cadence, yes, we skipped over that. So we will stay on 1600 European time, 1500 UK time, and when the clocks change, we will be 1 hour ahead by UTC.
Also, I think I need to adjust the work session. Whoever used that one is probably using the US calendar or something.
Great.
Yeah.
We can do that, please. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would have been an issue on my side. Just when it was transferred over, it was still in Central Time as opposed to UTC.
It's not a problem. It's not
My
a problem.
apologies.
Oh, come on! Like everybody is. I did a greater mess anyway. Okay, I don't have anything else.
Great. So yeah, so fixing the change to summertime is something for the future. It may be easier than fixing Discord.
Maybe, it is.
So thank everyone again for a very constructive meeting. We've got a number of actions to carry forward. Look forward to interacting with everyone over the course of the week, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.